The sky was too bright for secrets. That was the first thing people whispered as they gathered on the wide, perfect lawn of Greenstone Heights Country Club. The sun blazed above them like an honest witness, refusing to let the past hide in shadows. Music played softly. Expensive perfume floated in the air. Laughter rose and fell in sharp waves. But everything stilled when a deep, distant thump-thump-thump rolled across the sky. A helicopter. Heads lifted. Drinks paused mid-air. The reunion guests stared, confused and surprised, as the sound grew louder. No one expected it. No one imagined that the person descending from the sky would be the same girl they once called worthless. The same girl they mocked for being quiet, poor, and alone. But life is funny. Pain grows people. Silence shapes strength. And sometimes the people they try to break become the ones who rise the highest. The helicopter approached slowly, slicing through the blue sky like a promise. And as it lowered onto the emerald lawn, the crowd grew silent. Not out of respect, but out of fear of what this moment might expose. Because inside that helicopter was a woman they used to step over. A girl they used to laugh at. Someone they believed would never become anything. But she did. And she had returned. Not for revenge. Not to show off. But to close a chapter that once hurt more than anyone knew. Her name back then was Sienna Hale. A quiet, soft-spoken girl with thrift store clothes and a backpack held together with safety pins. She walked the halls of Brookdale High like a shadow. Unseen, unheard, and unwanted. But not because she was strange. Not because she was rude. Sienna was gentle, kind, brilliant, artistic. But in a world that worshipped popularity, none of that mattered. Her sneakers were worn out. Her lunches were simple leftovers. Her family struggled every week just to pay rent. To the popular girls like Madeline, Trisha, and their crowd, Sienna was an easy target. Someone to use to feel superior. Someone whose pain didn't count. They laughed at her clothes. They recorded her tears. They joked about her silence. Even the boys joined in, mimicking her soft voice and pretending to pity her. Sienna learned early that the world didn't always reward kindness. Her world became small, quiet, hidden. Every day during lunch, she sat behind the old gym bleachers with her sketchbook. The pages held drawings of flowers, candles, and small peaceful things. Everything her life didn't have. Only one person ever spoke to her with real warmth. Mr. Keller, the janitor. A tired man with gray hair and gentle eyes. "You're stronger than you think, Sienna," he would say as he swept the empty halls. "People like you bloom late, but when you bloom, the world will know." At the time, she didn't believe him, but life was listening. Life didn't magically get easier. In fact, the world became harsher. Sienna worked 3 jobs, waitressing, cleaning, and stocking shelves at a 24-hour supermarket. She barely slept. She barely ate. But she kept moving. She took online business courses on a cracked phone screen. She learned marketing from free videos. She practiced design late at night with a cheap secondhand laptop. She wanted more for herself. She wanted a life that didn't hurt. Then, one quiet afternoon, everything changed. Sienna walked into a tiny candle shop called Hearthglow, looking for a cheap thank you gift. Behind the counter stood Evelyn Hart, a widowed entrepreneur in her late 70s. Her hair was silver. Her smile was warm. Her eyes were gentle, the same eyes Sienna used to see in Mr. Keller. Evelyn noticed Sienna's sketches peeking from her bag. "Do you draw?" she asked. Sienna nodded shyly. "Let me see." That moment changed her life. Evelyn didn't see a poor girl. She saw potential. She saw talent. She saw a story waiting to unfold. She offered Sienna a job on the spot. Within a year, Sienna redesigned the entire brand. Packaging, scents, styles, and online presence. Sales doubled, then tripled. Evelyn treated Sienna like family. She encouraged her ideas, trusted her vision, and taught her everything she knew about running a business with heart. And when Evelyn passed away peacefully 2 years later, she left the company to Sienna, the one person who cared enough to save it. People called Sienna lucky, but luck had nothing to do with it. Sienna rebuilt the small candle shop into Hearthstone Haven, a global luxury wellness brand known everywhere: hotels, airports, spas, and online stores. Her designs became viral sensations. Her candles were featured on talk shows and magazines. The girl who once walked hallways with her head down now walked boardrooms with confidence. But she never forgot. Not the pain. Not the loneliness. Not the way people made her feel invisible. So when an invitation arrived for her 10-year high school reunion, Sienna didn't react with anger. She just smiled. She understood why they sent the message. She knew the polite words were fake. They expected the same quiet, timid girl. A girl who would shrink in their presence. A girl who would let them laugh again. But that girl didn't exist anymore. Sienna wasn't returning for validation. She was returning for closure. The helicopter finally touched the lawn, scattering dust into the air. The blades slowed. Conversations died. And when the door opened, Sienna stepped out. A white silk dress flowed around her like a soft cloud. Her hair, once messy and tangled, now fell gracefully down her shoulders. She wore no heavy jewelry, no flashy displays. Her confidence was her crown. Every step she took was calm. Every breath was steady. Every movement carried the quiet strength of someone who fought hard battles alone and won. The crowd parted without speaking. People whispered, "Is that Sienna? No, it can't be. She looks completely different. She looks beautiful. She looks successful. We were horrible to her." Madeline froze with her drink halfway to her lips. Trisha looked down, ashamed. The boys who used to tease her straightened their ties as if that would hide the guilt they felt. Sienna didn't look at them with hate. She looked at them with peace. Because she didn't come to prove anything. She came to bury the last piece of her pain. The hall was decorated with old photos, memories from 10 years ago. Sienna walked slowly, looking at familiar faces. Some smiled awkwardly. Some avoided her eyes. Some whispered apologies under their breath that they didn't have the courage to speak aloud. She didn't judge them. They knew what they had done. They knew who they had been. And now they saw who she had become. She stopped in front of a photo. A picture of her younger self sitting alone on a school bench. Her clothes were faded. Her eyes were sad. Her shoulders were slouched. She touched the picture gently, not with pain, not with regret, but with respect for the girl who survived. Behind her, the room grew quiet. People watched her and felt the heavy blanket of guilt settle over them. If the story touches you, please like, comment, and support. You help us continue sharing stories that inspire kindness around the world. Before the event ended, Sienna stepped outside again. She lifted her face to the open sky. The sunlight warmed her skin, reminding her of freedom, reminding her of how far she had come. She didn't need their apologies. She didn't need their approval. She had built a life full of joy, beauty, and meaning. A life she earned. A life she deserved. As the helicopter blades began spinning again, Sienna felt a quiet release inside her chest. A weight she had carried since she was a child finally lifting. If you're watching, please comment, "I believe in second chances." As the helicopter rose, carrying her above the country club, above the people who once hurt her, above the place that once broke her, Sienna smiled. Not because she won, but because she healed. Her worth had never depended on the opinions of others, and her future would never be controlled by her past. The reunion they planned to mock her ended as a reminder to everyone watching. Never underestimate a quiet soul. They remember, they rise, and someday, they return as someone extraordinary.